Welcome to Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petrellis, and we are excited for our third season. We've had over 70 guests on this show over the last couple of years. We have a repeat guest on here who is now a head coach, but we'll get into him in a minute, man. But let me tell you, from our summer off season has been crazy. As you people have seen, we have our Beyond All Stars, 12 high school athletes and college athletes across the state represented Beyond Podcast. Our goal this year is to really show off the athlete. We've been really working with coaches and working with programs, and high school athletes deserve this recognition to show off what they are on the field, but also who they are off the field and being well-rounded. And that's what this podcast is all about. That's what we're all about here. We're all about highlighting high school athletics, and it means a lot to us. So we're happy to be back in the fall season, my favorite season of the year, just not just because of football, but the weather, everything. And we're jumping into season 3, and I couldn't think of a better person to start off with. We are covering this coach's team on Friday night. The new head coach at Nashoba Tech, ladies and gentlemen, Danny Kelly.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm very excited again to be on this podcast. Of course, now in a new role, having you guys come out to our first game is just going to be electric. It was one of the first things that when I got the job, I texted you that same day. I knew how electric that atmosphere can be when you come to a game from when you did our game at Malden Catholic. So I knew right away. I talked right to the administration. I said, hey, we got to get this podcast out here. It's going to be great for the school. And the kids are fired up for it.
Yeah, we're excited, man. I remember you texted me pretty quickly about it, and I was like, all right, just send me the dates and we'll lock you in. And so many schools had reached out about their opening Friday night, but you pulled the trigger first. So it was great. And obviously, I'm a big fan of you and what you built over at Mystic Valley a few years back. And, we covered Malden Catholic last year and, the program that they had developing there and you being a part of that. And I want to talk about that because this is like your second time around being a head coach. And you were on a staff last year that had a head coach and Bill Raycraft that had a lot of success outside the state in the football world. You had a lot of coaches on that staff that had a lot of success in state. You had a lot of coaches on that staff that had college level success. So talk about what you learned from Malden Catholic and maybe this time around, just, how you look at the game maybe a little bit differently than you did before.
Absolutely. Going from a head coach to now being on staff at Malden Catholic, number one, going from Division 8 to Division 1, I talked about before, was an absolute whirlwind. I was lucky enough for the 2 years that I was there to be put on the defensive staff. Honestly, I was a big offensive-minded coach. When I first jumped on, I remember reaching out to you and talking about, some defensive back stuff. And then I got promoted to be on the headsets with Jeff Smith. I learned so much about the game in terms of defense and how to read an offense, which has now made me just 30 times smarter on offense. Yeah. I mean, I believe, when you co-coach defense, that's my best advice to anybody. You want to coach offense, coach defense first.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I mean, I love it in the sense of like, I still get calls from, and he's not ashamed to say this, but Jimmy Rabbit over at Kip Academy. I mean, when they see certain types of offenses, he calls and, we sit and we really talk on the phone, or now we FaceTime or Zoom and just kind of draw things up and talk about it. Like, you're right. Learning the game of football defensively, I think, prepares you offensively for things that you could see, fronts that you could see, different packages you could see. I'm a defensive guy, so maybe I'm biased, but I totally agree with you in that sense. And you mentioned jumping the D1. I mean, you're in the Catholic Conference. That's the best conference of high school football in the state of Massachusetts, hand down. I mean, every week you're potentially facing a team that is a top 25 team in the state. I mean, the record might not show, but again, those monsters are playing each other every week. It's a 5-3 team in that league could be an 8-0 team in another league. So, I totally understand that.
Absolutely. And then obviously this, again, always so thankful for Bill Raycraft and his staff. I mean, him, Matt Blair, those guys, they really just took me under their wing. I was able to work for them for 2 years, right away reached out to Billy right on without even a question, made me just feel so comfortable at home. I was able to work for them during the winter time. After workouts, I would work all the basketball games. I really just got engulfed in the culture. Malden Catholic's culture before and after games is unbelievable. I mean, there is like 50 alumni lined up on the walkout, and you'd have parents holding a cookout for an 80 to 100 person team immediately after. I mean, unbelievable culture set by Bill and just great people. Again, just to name some people on that staff, Elise Pongolis, one of the best D-line coaches I've ever seen. Brian McDonough, who coached me at Mystic Valley, was an absolute great defensive mind, taught me so much. And then, of course, Sean Terriolt as well. Sean is, one of my just really good friends now. Someone that I really close with, who I meet with a lot, especially when I got this job. He actually told me that it might be open, so it's kind of funny. I've really had Sean just kind of be my mentor, I think, and really help me out. And then, of course, Jeff Smith, someone that just really believed in me from the beginning, a really good friend of mine, came up to speak to our team as well. Just a really great group of guys. I mean, Glenn Noble, Brandon Balo. I mean, we just had a blast together. We had a lot of fun as a staff, worked really hard, was competitive in a lot of games that maybe people didn't think we would. We just had a good time. But of course, just the culture there is something that I really tried to take with me now, in terms of practice schedules and just, how to manage a big team. It's not something I was used to. And I know we're going to talk about that later on. It's just, that's a culture setter. How can you understand that, your freshman, who's the newest kid and never played football, is just as important as the senior who's going to be a captain for you, who's been a 4-year starter.
The best coaches know how to make that feel, right? Because you hear a lot of coaches say that everybody in this program matters, doesn't matter what class you are, what year you are, whatever. But implementing that and making them feel that way and consistently doing it, it's a sign of a great coach. And I was there. I covered you guys versus Varian, and the score ended up being a little bit to a lot to a little, but I'll tell you, man, that first half, you guys were inside the 10, like 2 or 3 drives and just turnovers and fumbles. That game could have been tied at halftime, and that could have been a different game in the second half. So I totally understand what you were saying is, you guys play some, I mean, Xavier, I think, was 4th in the state at that point when you guys played them. And you had your second drive, you drove all the way down the field and fumbled. And then at the end of the half, you guys had an opportunity to put it in. The kid tried making a play and diving for the pylon, and they fumbled it, and they called it a touchback. I mean, tough call to make it at Malden Catholic, but that's besides the point. But
Oh my.
yeah, and I agree with you, man. I was there. I've covered a lot of Malden Catholic sports this year, fall, winter, spring, and pay attention to their social media. They get it there, and you mentioned a lot of those guys, and I met those guys. I was lucky enough to meet a lot of them when we covered you guys that day, but knew some of them outside of there through other people. So you definitely learned a lot and gained a lot. And I think that's what you said, getting it from a big school that plays the best of the best and consistently does, has a great alumni, builds a great culture. That's something you put in your bag of tricks where the next spot you go. And speaking of which of that, I mean, talk about that, because I feel like every year there's more and more turnover in high school sports. There's more and more coaches either stepping away, more and more coaches either stepping into a new job or a new role. A lot of coaches in education, they might move up into administration, and they, unfortunately, can't manage both or balance both. Talk about finding the right job, because Nashoba is not close. I mean, it's not close in distance. It's a hike for you every day. So I know you teach in Medford, and then you got to drive. I think it's in Weston, right?
But
Westford. Sorry, yeah, Westford. So I mean, it's a hike, dude. That's a hike. That's not an easy ride, and especially in traffic with the Orange Line shut down now, I'm sure it's not easy either. So talk a little bit about not just choosing a job for you, but choosing the right job. What made that job stand out more than anything?
absolutely. So, I mean, there was 4 head coaches on staff at Malden Catholic. So at that time, with all of us being assistants,
Yeah.
when I talked to Bill over the offseason, we talked about an offseason plan. I did tell him, I had a lot of interest in being a head coach again, but we had some great talks and sitting down of, we need to make sure it's going to be the right job. I really loved my time there. I had no rush to leave. I really loved it there. And I wanted it to feel right. So we sat down a lot of times. I mean, Bill, being a head football coach and athletic director, puts you in such a great spot. He helped me build my book and everything like that together. Now, the thing that really appealed me about Nashoba is it is in the CAC League, where I was with Mystic Valley. So I knew at Mystic Valley, both years we played them, they beat us by over 25 points. So I knew that there was a strong culture there. And to really shout out James Creed, unbelievable coach. He's a principal still at Nashoba Tech, and now the head coach at Groton Dunstable. But that program was unbelievable. Unbelievable Division 8 powerhouse. So I knew, okay, this is a good program. And also, I work at the vocational part of the Medford High. Nashoba is a technical high school. So I
Right.
said, wow, nothing more I can translate that I have a vocational background. I went to Medford in the Voc. I've been in the laborers union now. I teach a shop in the trades. I'm going to understand exactly what these kids are talking about.
And
I
you could
just
help
understand.
them. You could help them outside of there, and probably in a lot of ways too, just outside the game of football.
Yep. So I saw that as just a wow, such an appealing thing. And to be honest, it was late. It was May. I
Yeah.
really wasn't thinking anything was going to open up. I sat down with them. It was the athletic director, Miss Stacy Stevens, Jeremy, our principal, and one other guy as well who works in the building. And we just clicked. We had a great time. The interview was just so natural. It wasn't like anything I've ever been on before. It was so natural. It was like talking to people that I just knew and was comfortable with because they understand vocational education. They understand how sports tie into that. And they understood where I was coming from. Number one, being familiar with the league, but just also the overall background of what these kids are going to be like. So I think that was just very important. Yeah, it's a ride from Medford every day. It's about 35 minutes, kind of bell to bell. We're lucky enough we get to start at 4 o'clock. So I'll talk about my other coaches later, but they play a pivotal role in that 2:30 to 3:30 range and what I have them do. So we'll talk about that later on. But that's kind of where we're at there and how I get there. I live in North Andover now, so it's not a bad ride from
It's like a
West Middleton.
halfway point. Yeah, yeah.
Not bad. Once I go up, I kind of just cut across 495, so it's not that bad. But again, the things that really appeal about the job is it's back in my league. I mean, when I went back into the league, Al Costabile was president of CAC, the large Shashin. I knew all these guys: Kevin Bradley, Al Costabile, Don Harris, just Jimmy, of course, being in the league. Like it was like a welcome back party. It was kind of fun. Like it was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
back. Like now I'm in a program that's one of the elite programs around the state. They were 9-4 last year and had 27 sophomores. So I knew that we had a big only rising junior class. So we're looking good, and it was just an all around just great situation. Just really good people. It felt natural.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you have the familiarity with the squad. You face them a
Mhm.
couple years, so that's great. And then obviously, like you said, all the above, being a tech school, you working in a tech school. You mentioned staff a little bit, and we'll talk about that. But I find this pretty amazing because we've had a couple side conversations about this. But your numbers are humongous. You have 77 kids in your program, and I mean, we joke about like what's going on in this country and shortages this and shortages that. But there's a legit helmet shortage going on in the state of Massachusetts, maybe across the country, but I'm just aware of it in Massachusetts of high school football helmets that like I see on Twitter every day, coaches being like, I still need 7 helmets. Does anybody have any extra helmets? Does any like that seems pretty legit. And on top of it, you have 77 kids in your program, which is a testament to you, which is amazing. But I'm sure like you guys need a zillion helmets. And I'm sure jersey wise, you probably don't have 77 jerseys. So is there truth to that? I mean, talk about that a little bit as far as your program goes.
So we came into the program kind of expecting around 50. We did 7-on-7s twice a week. We were in the Chelmsford League and the Tewksbury League. And to be honest, we would usually go about 15 to 20 kids, maybe. So I'm like, okay, well, there's really not that many kids. And they kept saying, there's some away for the summer. And I was like, you kind of used to like 35, 40s usually. Like 45 is a pretty big squad for high school at Division 8
Right.
sometimes. Like,
Right.
you're like, 45 is great. Like, now, as we start to get closer, so August, we start to see registrations coming in. We're up to 50. I'm like, okay, 55, 60, 65. The day before camp starts on equipment handout, we're up to 70. I'm like, where all these kids come from? Us, our athletic director, we're like, we only have 58 helmets. What are we going to do? So we had to reach out to Tri-County, Mystic Valley, Groton. Kids bought their own helmets. Some kids already had their own helmets. We're painting helmets in the auto body shop. We're throwing it all around. It's kind of like an all-in effort, but
I
I
mean,
mean,
nice being a Vogue school there in that sense, right?
it was crazy. I mean, I walked into the league meeting and I'm like, I'm going to ask who has helmets because I know everyone's got to have helmets. First thing everybody said to me is, hey, anybody got any extra helmets? I'm like, there's no way this is an actual wide shortage. I'm telling you, football numbers in the state are up. It's kind of funny because we talked about how, even referees are trying to have a tough time finding guys to fill games. Schools are having to move games to Thursdays and Saturdays. Obviously, still with COVID, there's some bus shortages and helmet shortages, but the numbers in high school football seem to be up. Just talking to some other people around, a lot of guys have teams of 80, 90, 100 kids. And I think a big thing is vocational education, and not to, kind of toot our own horn, but people are starting to realize vocational education is worth it. So we had the highest number of enrolled freshmen at Nashoba Tech, but we also have that at Medford. We have one of the highest freshman classes enrolled in the vocational school and kids staying in CTE. So I think kids are, also realizing that they can play sports, but also be a part of a great trade and find something that they want to do after high school. So numbers are up, but yeah, helmets are short. We only have 59 jerseys to dress kids on a home game. So, we're going to have to try to, it's a tough thing, a travel roster, freshmen through seniors. We really emphasize it does put us in a good position to say effort matters. Little things matter, doing the right things. How can you get on this travel list?
I
It
mean,
doesn't
that's
even
cool, dude, but that's cool. Like, I know that for some kids not being on that list, that sucks, right? But like, there, as a coach, there's incentive. Like, practice that much harder, do the little things extra, get noticed out there, right? Like, you're gonna have probably more kids than ever that want to jump on scout team, more kids than ever that are going a little bit more full throttle in certain drills, and it's great. I mean, that's a great problem to have, in my opinion.
Yeah, we are still gonna. So every kid that's not in full uniform is still gonna get a jersey. They have to wear specific drill, like jeans on the sideline. They're gonna be involved because if you went through camp with us and you've gone through every practice, you are not gonna sit in the stands if you're a freshman on this team or you're not on the full travelers. You're on the sideline. You're gonna walk out with us. You're gonna get that vibe because you're gonna be there one day. That's one thing that we keep incentivizing. I mean, I've given some jerseys to freshmen. We traveled on Friday for our last scrimmage, and we only had one bus. And you'd see kids, Coach, thank you so much. I said, don't thank me. You earned it. It's really the best. It's been kind of one of the most rewarding feelings. But people are starting to, it's competitive, and it really does make that scout team player of the week, special teams player of the weeks, game captain stuff important to kids to really try to make an effort for.
This jersey's for Rudy, coach, right? Like that. I can see that happening on your
Oh,
coaching desk.
uh, probably.
You mentioned it. I want to talk about your social media a little bit from a lot of different standpoints, and you kind of hit it. So we'll talk about that first. Even when you were at Mystic Valley, I love this. You do like practice player of the week, defensive player of the week, scout player of the week. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about that and how, when you have a big program like you have, how important it is for maybe not necessarily the starters or the people that are kind of get the consistent playing time, but some of those kids that are out there that maybe feel like in this roster of 77 kids, they're not getting noticed or they're not getting their fair shot, or maybe the coaches aren't seeing everything to get recognized for things like that. I think that's incredible stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we just try to. I mean, one of the things we emphasized from day one was leave no doubt that you're the best in your position. Try to leave no doubt. I don't care what it is, but at any moment in time, anytime you step on that field, leave no doubt. So if that means being that scout team player of the week, we emphasize so much. It's so important that a lot of teams that I've been a part of and like guys I've worked with in big staffs, and I said, what was the reason for success of this team? They would say, Coach, scout team was better than the team we would play because that's how hard they would go. It would take one guy in that starting defense to jack up on scout. They'd get
Right.
upset. We've kind of built into our practice now that the last 20 minutes is competitive. It's always a goal line scenario. So we'll go scout off against scout D and try to score in 4 plays. We'll go start an offense against scout D and try to score in 4 plays. And we'll run like our power stuff and just say, hey, we know it's coming. We got to score in it. It doesn't matter. So we've kind of seen some incentive there and really trying to juice it up at the end of practice with a big game scenario. And just giving kids an opportunity to compete, just seeing who wants to be competitive when the lights are on, and who wants to shine, and who can come out and really just be competitive for us. Who's going to bring the energy when we need it? Who's fighting for that last spot? What are you going to do? What are you going to sacrifice for the team is kind of very important to us.
Yeah, and I think as you know, like in the game of football, your week one starter at a position, sometimes by week four is getting spelled a lot by somebody else coming in, or somebody else is getting more reps, or a couple kids get hurt, or some kids just aren't playing as well. So keeping your kids in a competitive situation and having that in practice on a daily basis, they're ready to jump into that. It's not like you're not preparing for that, the what ifs or what could happen. Like, you do it every single day, which is nice. And staying on your social media, you're very involved in the community, and I think that's a lot, man. Like, the travel time for you, obviously the 7-on-sevens, you're doing that twice a week. You're trying to balance a roster of, I mean, almost, I mean, we'll round it up to 100. I know it's not there, but I mean, that's you're close, right? So obviously you're trying to balance that. Then you're dealing with parents, then you're dealing with boosters, then you're dealing with school. I mean, talk about like then keeping up with social media and being involved in the community. I see like restaurants or local spots or donating food and doing all that stuff for you guys. I mean, that's you in a nutshell. That's who you are as a person, anyways. But talk about how you maybe got even social media more to reach out to the community to get them involved with the squad.
First thing we did right away was reach out to all the local businesses. I mean, we take the coaches there. We're setting up more nights where we're going to get families out there. Right, luckily in Westford, Aviva Trattoria and Burton's were two that jumped right away. We were able to use them both for days of practice because we'd be there all day long. Burton's donated food again for 80 something kids and
It's
coaches.
crazy. It's
Uh,
crazy.
2 days worth of food for coaches and kids for free. No cost at all. I mean, just really took care of us. Um, Again, we used the pizza place in Chelmsford. That did the very first day. So that Friday, we just have been very lucky. It's one of the first things I do when I establish. I made the captains go with one of our coaches to pick up the food every time. I wanted them to shake their hands. I wanted them to see who's representing our program and just show them that, community matters. I mean, I talk about the three things right away, right? You don't only represent yourself, but you represent your family, your team, and then yourself. So, you need to make sure that we always take that we over me mindset, right? What's best for the team? What's best for the community? How can we help make this a better experience? Especially with me not being in the building, we need to have that culture set by the players, self-policing, making sure we do all that stuff as well. So community to me is huge. I mean, understanding 9th through 12th grade. I mean, exactly like you said, we need to make sure we reach out to these community partners, take care of them when they take care of us. I know we'll be there tomorrow night. We're going to the Brick House in Chelmsford. So we're taking on
Ooh.
coaches out there. While one of the kids is hosting 80 kids at his house for a pasta party. So last week, Paul's Diner in Westford held our 80 kids there. And then the best thing that we got was a direct message from their owner about how respectful the kids were, how much they cleaned up everything, how much of a help they were. I mean, for me, that's like, just the
It's
ultimate.
everything, dude. It's everything.
That doesn't even matter X's and O's wise. That's just, culture setting, kids being great kids. I mean, I can't emphasize enough. We have really had zero discipline problems in terms of any problem. It's one of the craziest things I've been a part of, but it's like, it's just, good overall culture of people that really just buying in, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, in being a 9-4 team the year before, coming in, young coach, has a lot of energy, maybe even taking it to that next level as far as saying, like, okay, we're going to be a product on the field, but off the field, we're going to represent ourselves as young men and represent our community and our school very, very well. Tagging on to the last thing I want to ask you about your social media, and you've been setting this up actually kind of nice for me. We talked about like all the things that you're doing and how nonstop it is for you. And I saw something you posted on social media, and I'm paraphrasing here. I don't have the exact quote, but you basically put on like Instagram or Facebook. I think it was Facebook. I'll see my family and friends after Thanksgiving. And I know what that means. That means like as a coach, you are just fully enthralled in what you are doing from day one till after Thanksgiving, and hopefully maybe at Gillette Stadium, right? And it's a lot of sacrifice. I mean, it's 3, 4 months of the year. It's a quarter of the year that you're dedicating just every single day, Monday through Saturday, and your Sundays might be watching the Patriots, but mostly watching your film or your opponent's film, and it's kind of nonstop. So talk about the toll that it maybe takes on you or just maybe people around you. I know years like I've had friends who took it very personal, family who have taken it personal that I'm unreachable or I don't involve myself in things that are going on. But when you love something, you're bought into it. It's not just about you, it's about the other 77 kids you have and the X amount of coaches on your staff and the parents and the people who invest this time and money into their kids, progressing as student athletes. And you take that role real seriously. So I just curious about that quote and your thoughts on it.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you something that you're going to be unbelieved by right away is I get to work every day at 6 in the morning. So I'm
Yeah.
in Medford at 6 a.m. That's when I do majority of film prep and game prep. And I really take that first like 45 minutes to really like do all my football stuff. It's quiet in my shop. I get the music going. I turn on the lights in the whole school. Paul DeLeva, shout out to him, is probably the only person that beats me there in the mornings. But I'm there early and on time and ready to go and do a lot of prep time there. So 6 a.m. to 2:30, I'm at the school. 2:30 to 3:30, I'm driving to Nashoba. I'm at Nashoba from practice. The minute I get there, it's live action. I got another 80 kids, so it's like, the minute I get there, they're in the form, they're waiting for my direction for the day. We get out there, we go out to pre-practice at 3:45, start practice at 4 till 6, right on the dot. I'm a 2-hour sharp guy. And then I'm usually there for another 20 minutes, just organizing and talking. And then I got another 20-minute ride home. So I'm not getting home till 7 o'clock at night. Usually then I'm just preparing a little bit, watching a little bit extra film, usually just checking out some sports stuff. First time I even get to really look at like social media during the day. So I'm trying to update that as well and answering parents' emails. Like you said, it's not till like 9:30 and I'm passed out. And 28 years old and I'm exhausted by 9:30.
And if you have time to eat, you have time to maybe shower. Like it's kind of crazy, dude. It's kind of crazy lifestyle, and people don't realize it. And when I see a quote like that, I get it. Like I totally get it. And for some people, they don't understand how your job just never stops. It never stops.
We have one game a week, but I mean, then it's we bring them in on Saturdays to watch film and do lifts, and on Sundays I'm at youth games. We have 7 surrounding towns. I have a whole calendar of kids that are going to be visiting their town with their jerseys. We have a youth night planned. Like I'm a part of doing all that stuff. So 7 days a week, I don't even think I've watched the Patriots game on a Sunday in a very long time. Just during that day, I'm out trying to see kids in the community and who's thinking about Nashoba Tech and trying to reach out to some of those kids as well, because I mean, vocational education's growing and our team's growing. I mean, if we get another 20 kids next year in the freshman class, we will be up to 100 kids. You know, we're up to almost 80 right now. We will be over 100 kids in our football program. That is an unbelievable thing.
It's realistic. It's realistic.
It's kind of funny too, because, you know, and we know I have a lot of young coaches on staff, guys, first time ever coaching. And I hang out with Sean Terrell a lot over the summertime. And he told my young coaches, we were all hanging out. My birthday is in August 21st, so it's usually after second day of camp, and I have a huge party, and I invite the coaches. And, you know, Sean was there, and he told my coaches, hey, kiss your social life goodbye till Thanksgiving, because you don't understand the grind's going to be like. Told my friend's girlfriend, hey, see him in Thanksgiving, because this is it. If you want to go all in and you really want to do this right, it's a grind, and I get it. And I'm sharp on these guys to make sure that they're out of there at 6 o'clock. So I'm like, I don't want you staying here longer than you have to. I want you guys out of here. That's my job, you know? But like you said, that's also for the kids. You know, the kids had to, I mean, I gave the parents the summer schedule in early June and said, hey, this is Labor Day weekend. This is the camp schedule. This is who's going to be going on the JV schedule. This is 7 days, 6 days a week. If you're not ready for it, I get it. And I understand. That's why football teams aren't usually that big, because it's such a commitment. People don't understand that it's more than football. It's preparing them for life and work and commitment. And when you make a commitment, to honor it, you know, and it's not to be every once in a while. There's no dentist appointments in the middle of practice. It's go time. You know, you need to schedule things at a manageable amount of time, just like you would work. You know, so that's something that we know we really try to emphasize. And I can easily adapt it being a tech school and saying, you know, we wouldn't miss work because of this, you know, so that's something that we understand that it's a grind, and we try to take care of the kids the most we can, enjoy a little bit of fun, you know, really try to be loose, music at practice, having fun. But I mean, they understand when it's showtime, it's showtime. They're going to be held to a high standard.
Yeah, and I think you hit something really well there, that like when I worked on the search for a really long time, there was a lot of staff turnover. And I mean, some of his staffs at the beginning of my tenure there were unbelievable. College coaches, I mean, Ainsley Rosenbaum, Mike DeCenzo, I mean, those guys I learned so much from. And then as I became the older coach and as I became the more veteran coach on that staff, yeah, sometimes when you have young guys on you, you see quickly who's there just to say they're a football coach and who's there because they want to be a sponge and eventually take that next step to becoming, you know, taken more seriously, or a coordinator, or eventually head coach in their own program. I mean, you do a lot. Do you have that same expectation for your coaches? I mean, you just basically reeled off a 14-hour day for yourself. I mean, is that your expectation for your coaching staff? I mean, how do you kind of look at that? I know you probably have a bazillion coaches having a bazillion kids, but I mean, just maybe talk about that overall. Like, do you set high expectations, and are you tough on your coaches when they're not pulling their weight?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I'm lucky enough. One of my major hires this summer was former defensive coordinator and now my assistant head coach, Carlo Ferrante. I mean, he is an 18-year defensive coordinator at Littleton. Littleton was just ranked as 17th best over the last decade.
I saw that. Yeah, yeah.
It went to 3 Super Bowls, and then he won 1. So, I mean, he is an unbelievable coach, but he's an unbelievable person. He's been like, now since June, I mean, we've spent 6 days a week together. We talk on the phone together. He's retired now, so he spends a lot of time coaching. So I
He's
don't
all
need
football. I love
oh,
it.
I don't need to ever convince him. So he's great to have and lives in Littleton, knows the area, knows people. So that was huge for me. Obviously, being from Medford, I never even been to Littleton before. Westford, Pepperell, Townsend. I kept calling it Townsend at first. So I never was in those places. And then I had Rich Iozas jumped on with me. He's driving 45 minutes from Medford to Westford every day. Marcus Cavallo, coach me at St. Clements. He's driving 45 minutes from Revere to Westford every day. AJ Tello, driving from Medford to Westford every day. Another one of my coaches, Nick Murphy, and Rich's son Daniel's coming with him as well. And then luckily, I kept on Bill Spiller, who was a coach at Nashoba Tech since 2004. So these guys really have bought in, and I have not really honestly had to be hard on them about things. I send them the daily plan at 6 o'clock. I tell them what they're going to be doing in their individuals and their groups and what I want to see be worked on. But I don't really just over watch them. I just check the time, blow the whistle, and move them on to when we got to go. I guess it's more just accountability on time. But honestly, they're always prepared in their indies. They're always prepared for the group work. Yes, there's some things that I need to touch up on, and I come in and I'm like, what have we been doing? We haven't been working on this, but where have we been during individual time and group time? But really, honestly, I don't have that struggle because they're new, they're young, and they're fresh, and they have good mindsets. They want to bring in new, fresh ideas. With Carlo and Rich really being veteran guys on my staff, they understand the game and they understand the time and effort it needs to be put in. So they hold each other accountable. And then, they all coach positions and rock and roll. And we just kind of move quickly throughout our sessions. And we all work hard. And I swear, in our group chat, it goes off. You know how it goes. Still 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, yeah.
Idea, time the other, and what can happen here. So that's been a great thing for me. Luckily, I've been really blessed with guys that have bought in quickly because we haven't had a lot of time and got to know each other well. It's been the first time I'm coaching with a new staff. But we're excited. We really are. It's just great people. That's what we look for.
And it's nice when you have able bodies, right? Especially with large numbers, that you can have individuals, you can be running, your offense and have four guys running scout and getting the right kids in there and getting the best look possible, or having scouting cards drawn up that it's like that scout offense comes out, boom, boom, boom. This is what you're doing. These are your routes. You hold up the card. It's just a well-oiled machine and you can get a lot done. And like you said, practice doesn't have to be 2.5 hours to be efficient. If you're moving and you're organized and you kind of know what you're doing out there, you could have an hour and a half, an hour and 45-minute practice and get through so much and learn a lot better. Like, a class, like if a teacher's up there talking for 45 straight minutes, you got the kid for 12 minutes maybe before they're just like, yeah, I'm done listening, right? Versus being in groups and doing presentations and watching a little bit of a video or whatever it is. Like, you kind of have to do that same type of stuff in practice. Like, your practice just has to be constantly moving. Like, we were music, we were buzzers, we had timers going. Like, kids knew when the horn blew, we doing this. When the horn blew, we were doing that. When the timer went off, we were doing this. Like, when the music came on, it's indie time. Like, that's just the way it is, and that's a sign of a good staff and building something really special. We're coming Friday. I mean, I'm excited. We've covered a lot of football last fall, and it's great to be starting off, obviously covering you as someone who I think very highly of, but to also going to a new area of Massachusetts that I truthfully, like, you were joking, but it's true. Like, I don't really travel that area very well. But with 77 kids on the roster, I'm expecting it's going to be a packed house there. Opening night for you, obviously, as a head coach, I know what that feels like. I'm pretty sure I vomited my first time before a game. But in all seriousness, I mean, talk about your opponent that you're seeing on week one here, less than 48 hours. You guys will be taking the field against them, what you're expecting a little bit, and what you see, as the game goes.
Absolutely. So obviously we're juiced up. Like I said, we're jacked up. So it's your first time being there and our first time being the head coach there. So it's like a lot of stuff that comes into the pregame and when are we going to come out and what door were we going to come out of and all the little extra stuff. But we're very excited. I mean, we're playing South Shore Tech from Hanover. They opened up with them last year. It's kind of a 2-year contract, vocational school rivalry, because it's big in the vocational playoffs and kind of how that works out at the end. But they're a great team. I mean, we just watched their scrimmage, and they do very well. They run tight end with a wing. They run I. I mean, I dropped the scout cards And it took me almost over an hour of just the different plays that they run, and motions, and some of the things that we needed to prepare for, just in terms of details. Like, is this guy, when does this guard trap? When does this fullback kick out an end, and compared to leading up for ISO? Just some stuff like that. But they're really good. Last year, Nashoba only beat them 13-8. So, and that was kind of last minute down to the wire. So we're expecting a very competitive game. We're going to switch it up on offense a little bit. We're going to change paces. I can't give too much away before our first
Hey,
game.
I get it. Keep quiet.
No one knows what's going to run yet, so I'm excited about that now. But we're going to switch up paces a lot, and we're going to be able to definitely pound the ball. We have a big offensive line, juniors, and a lot of really good skill players. And I will tell you, our slot's about 5'5", 5'6", and they had two deadly weapons. They catch everything. They fly around. They both got long flowing hair, both named Anthony. We had to give them nicknames.
Must
LA
be the
and
name. Must be the name.
yeah, LA and Hollywood. We have 3 Anthonys. We have AAA in one of our alignments. It's like, it's kind of funny, but yeah, the environment should be great. I mean, we got a nice long walkout. We're trying to work on getting some bagpipes to our entrance right now. I'm a little off and trying to find something, but we're working on it. I'm big on, just the experience and the culture. I mean, that's just going to be an unbelievable experience for the kids, and the walkout and the intensity of it. And you know how it is. When that music comes on in that field, you just feel it. Like, I just bought new cans today. Like, we're just getting ready to rock and roll. We know the stands should be packed. It's Teacher Appreciation Night. So every staff member at Nashoba Tech gets in free with the student ID. I got a lot of people driving up from Medford just to come up and check out that game as well. A lot of teachers, a lot of my friends coming up just to see my first game. And then I think the theme is neon as well for the students in the section. So should be jumping. Again, a lot of hype first year. So I'm excited. We're ready to go. I wish it was. I'm like, oh my God, it's only Wednesday. How is it only Wednesday?
I know. I remember those weeks, man, where like every day felt like it's tomorrow Friday, like you just kind of
I
get into that mode.
You sit in
Uh
school, that juiced up, you're jacked up, and like I couldn't imagine being with fifth graders. They're like, "What?"
yeah, they have no clue. No clue. No clue what your emotions are whatsoever that day. And then usually like you're dealing with something at like 2 o'clock, some like nonsense that happens. You're like, guys, really I had to deal with this right now, like I am
Not
ready to
today.
go.
I like they get it. They're like, "You pumped up?" Like they always know they're ready to go. Like, they're pretty invested in it too, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Just working at school, they're like, "Oh, good luck. Like, how'd you do?" And it's always like the first thing Monday morning.
Well, listen, we're expecting a pack house there. So, I'm going to put this out there. You can help pump this too. But one of our biggest goals this year going to high school game is we are looking for the best concession stand there is. Like, candy wise, pizza wise, drink wise, like we are going to be critiquing a lot of concession stands. So hopefully those parents are ready for us. Hopefully there is a concession stand. We know like Medford, you saw what we did with Medford last year with the pizza, and it became a monster thing that like everywhere we went, people made sure they had more than enough pizza just because they knew we were coming, and they were fearful that we were going to light them up like we lit Medford up last year. But it ended up all being out of good fun. But this year our goal is we are looking for the best concession stand in the state of Massachusetts that provides the most snacks, the best food, the best setup and presentation. That's important too. I don't care if it's just a folding table. If you got it set up the right way and there's a lot of opportunity there, you will get a high grade from us. So you got to help us pump that. And to Go ahead, go ahead. And to hear that it's neon too, right? Like to hear that it's neon to the students are going to be nuts. His first game, first Friday night game. You just came back to school. We're looking for the biggest super fan there too. So if you're going to that game, if you're going to the Nashoba game, and you consider yourself a super fan, get noticed by us. We will pull you aside. We will interview you. We will talk to you, and we will label you a fan of the game. So we're really excited. So if you could help us pump that in any way, that would be absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I have no idea what the concession stand setup is like, but I'm putting the pressure on. I know a lot of these parents, I know a lot of them personally well now. I'm like, hey, we got to be ready for this. We can't be the first ones not setting the tone right.
Right.
So we're trying to jump that up. And then, yeah, we'll hopefully see some good fans. I've never, both times we played them, we were at home at Mystic Valley. So I've never even seen a Friday night game at Nashoba Tech before. So this is going to be new for me as well. So we're just hoping to get, I mean, we're with a big team. I'm like, guys, you got to pump this thing out. It's just, you got to be juiced up. And we're only at home for 3 games out of the 9 this year. So this is huge. Like we go on the road a lot. It was kind of our mantra all year. We took the burn the ships mantra. we're trying to make sure that we take advantage of every home game we have.
I love it, man. That's great. And yeah, be the road warriors, man. Just be the
That's
road
it.
warriors, So before we go, we're gonna jump into our last segment, our 2 minute drill, man. And before we do, I just want to say, like, thank you for coming back on here. You really are first a coach from Assistant Coaches Month that landed a head coaching gig. Not that I'm surprised. I knew it was only a matter of when that was gonna happen. But again, you kind of talked about it at the beginning, developing as a coach, working with other people, learning as much as you possibly can, and you're building a monster over here. You haven't even played a game yet, and I'm just extremely impressed of what you've done with this program from May until this point, and obviously the product that I know it's going to be for this football season. So congratulations on that. I'm really proud of you for that.
No, I have talked to so many people just since. So anyone that's been lucky enough to be on this podcast, even featured as assistant coaches, I mean, it's a blessing. It really has gone out there. I've been able to use it, for my coaching stuff. When I was looking for a job, it was easy to reference. Even when I was selling the podcast, the athletic director, I showed him our experience last year at Malden Catholic and how great it was to sell to school, to see the experience of the game. This is just an unbelievable thing you've been doing, Anthony, for a long time. And I know we've talked about it. And I mean, I watch every week. I missed the weekly interviews of my thing, and I picked a lot of stuff off some great people. But this has just been an amazing tool for coaches to produce themselves. And I've been able to really use this for myself to help get me back into a position I wanted to be, and lucky enough to showcase some of the things that I've been a part of. So thank you for that.
I appreciate that. And I have to say, I think were you runner up in our cornhole, or third place in our cornhole tournament? What place you
Oh
guys
yeah,
come in?
we came in. We were at both tournaments with John Burroughs. Unbelievable experience. Bartenders there, everybody just being a Memphis person. Always have a good time there, especially when we get to go there with the teachers on Fridays on a long vacation. But both cornhole tournaments. Second one with Paul Williams came in third. He got smoked in the semifinals there out of nowhere. But we were rocking and rolling, and I was just like, all right, I guess we're done here. But both great times, great event. Obviously, you always host a great event, and we're looking forward to even getting more of my coaches out there this year doing some stuff. And we're hoping to have you guys up in some of our stuff this off season as well.
Heck yeah, man. It'll be a lot of fun. So I appreciate that. So we're going to jump into our Cheney's 2 minute drill. You know how this works. Our friends over at Cheney's, Joe has been a great friend to us. And if you'd never been there, right around the corner from the Garden, I mean, this season with the Bruins and the Celtics, that place was popping. Every playoff game. Guy's a genius. So we're really happy to work for them and name the segment after them. So you know how it works, man. 2 minutes. I'm going to fire some rapid fire questions at you, 1 or 2 word answers. If we want to throw the red flag and have you elaborate a little bit more, definitely. But if you want to elaborate yourself, just because, feel free. We're pretty lenient. And here we go. So besides opening night, obviously in 2 nights, is there another game circled on your schedule that you're really looking forward to?
Yeah, I would say probably Lynn Tech game for me. James Runner at Lynn Tech does an unbelievable job. It's always a tough one. We got it at home. So that's going to be an unbelievable game for us. That's also our homecoming and our youth day as well. So that's early October. But we know when Lynn Tech rolls into town, man, they're one of the toughest people around. So we're excited for that one.
That's great. If it was up to you, what would be the song of choice that you guys came out of the locker room, made that long walk? What would be the song you walked out to?
Oh, I already know. I went to the Merrimack Holy Cross game Friday night, and they walked out to "The Boys Are Back," and they're looking for trouble with the bagpipes. I mean, first game back. That's what I'm telling you right now. If you're looking, that's what we're going. So we're going to Dropkick Murphys. The Boys Are Back, and they're looking for trouble, and we're hoping to have a bagpipe with it. But if not, we're still going to be rocking to it.
I can't wait to get this walk in. This is I'm excited. I'm extremely excited to get this entrance. I think entrances, Malden Catholic to me had the coolest entrance, probably coolest walk. Stoneham last year had incredible entrance out. They pulled a shed open and kids just came out like animals. So I love that. I think that's one of the best parts of our coverage is seeing how teams kind of get juiced up as they get to the field or to the court or whatever. You alluded to this a little bit earlier, being a more offensive minded guy and learn to become more defensive minded. 4th and goal to win a game, would you rather score from the 1 or make a stop at the 1?
Oh, make a stop at the 1. Now with the defense rolling and just kind of being that coach and seeing just both tackles pinch and just stuff it at the goal line. And, I always think back to when the Patriots stuffed the Colts on Edgerrin James and William running down the field with that one finger up and Ted Washington just being a house in the middle. It's just unbelievable. Patriots, Malcolm Butler at the goal line. It's just that defensive juice just has more. We got a great defensive shirt ready for you. the Hitmen squad for the Vikings. Coach Kylo, I know he's going to be excited. I got on during the podcast, so we're on the defensive mind right now.
Hey, listen, that is 100% awesome for me. So that's great. What's the biggest thing you've probably learned so far as your second stint of being a head coach?
You know what? Just believing in everybody around you, just letting them do their thing, believing in the people around you that they're here to help you. And of course, I've been lucky enough on both teams to have great staffs, but understanding that, really we need to focus on making sure that the ninth grader that just signed up yesterday to the senior captain, introducing yourselves, understanding how can we make you feel as comfortable as possible, and just making that family team culture environment to not only be great members on the field, but in the community.
Great answer. Tomorrow night, I know you mentioned that you and your coach is going on. I think you said to the Brickyard. What's the meal of choice? What is the meal that you have before a big night? If you had the choice to make it, what would it be?
I've made a tradition that I take the coaches out just to celebrate really the cap of the preseason. So of course I'm paying for all them. So we're going pizzas.
Okay.
So
Hey, listen, cheese.
uh, they know I'm pretty simple, plain Jane. If anyone was bugs, they know it'd be chicken fingers and cheese pizza, and that's about it.
Hey, listen.
So Brick House and Challenge for tomorrow. We're excited, and I think we're gonna make that our after game spot as well. So
It is a great spot there. A nice little outside patio, I think there too. They have there.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've done that before, so we're excited. We're gonna try it out. Our athletic director's taking us, so we're gonna be excited.
That's great. Last question I have for you. Last year, Beyond's all-time record at football games is 4-3. Hosted the team that hosted us. Can I count on you guys to make it 5-3?
We're ready to go. I'm just gonna tell you right now, we're jacked up. We're ready. We're gonna be ready to go. Let's just say that the boys.
Safe answer. Very safe answer, and I like it. I like it. I know what it means. All right. Well, you survived the 2-minute drill. And again, thank you for coming on here. We're really excited to be covering you guys in a couple of days. And, I'm leaving literally probably from school to get up there to avoid all the traffic and everything else, because I want to make sure I catch everything, because I think what you have planned and what you've talked about is, I just can't wait to see it all in action. So we're excited, and we thank you guys for the opportunity to allow us to be there and get that inside look into your program.
Thank you, Anthony. Again, I can't emphasize enough just your friendship and just the mentor you've been to me since how getting into teaching and coaching, and always just being that person I can call, talk for an hour. I know we talked so many times on a long ride home.
Yeah.
We both got and just about life and just about coaching and just anything we can do to help kids, and just kind of we're all in this for the same reason. So just wanted to thank you guys and the podcast, Justin, all you guys do such a great job. And there's something that I really wanted, because it does highlight not only me and the coaches, but the kids in the school, and it just gives such a good overall experience. And I think again, this just helps more kids want to come out and play the sports that they do.
Absolutely, man. So listen, we're pumped. We're excited. We'll be there. And, from Beyond Podcast, I'm your host, Anthony Petrellis, Danny Kelly, guys. Till next time.